Hi, Gloria Lybecker here with Healing You. Have you ever had self-judgments? I know I have, and I think that's pretty common for a human being to have. There was a person I was working with the other day who noticed a pattern that they struggled with. And the pattern was being quiet when they were in relationship with somebody instead of speaking up when they had something that they'd like to say, or maybe they didn't agree with a friend. But what would happen inside of them is they would have the self-judgment, criticizing self, or criticizing not just themselves, but criticizing the other person, but not speaking up, not agreeing, but not speaking up. And so there's a belief that they had a really bad energy inside of them. And there was a hopelessness that this energy that would be so critical would run them. And so then they'd feel helpless and hopeless because they'd say, I can't help it. And then a big ball of energy would come up that was like anger, criticism, and then there'd be shame that they'd heap upon their own head. Like, why can't I navigate this? I have skills, but I can't hold it any better. I'm helpless. So there's such a fierce, sharp judgment that was rigid and cutting that left them feeling utter powerlessness, inadequacy, and really a lot of fear and anxiety about what the outcome was going to be. They had a fear that they were going crazy. I mean, this is crazy-making stuff that can happen within us. And the fear that it'll just take over. And it feels so dark, a very dark shadow. And so as we took time to travel, we stepped through time. We stepped in with this younger self that was in their bed feeling quite terrified. And they would have the cover clear over their whole body because they had this fear that someone was going to come in and cut them up. They'd watch some scary movies. And as a small child of 7 or 8, that can just be pretty terrifying. And we can't determine whether that's real or not real. And then it comes into our dreams. And they're nightmares. So this little one was so terrified that there was a cutting presence, an entity that was behind them. And they were so terrified of it. But the shadow belief that they held was, I'm bad and I'm all alone because it makes me bad. So slowing time down to be with this child self, their compassionate self steps in and places this darkness in a safe container. To the child self, it was a deep purple, and it had dirt, and it had moss. And it felt really safe. They could feel the energy moving then down their neck and in their head. And it created a space for this little child self. And then there was just no need for all the dishonesty. They had a sense of well-being and that life is good. And they could taste life's goodness. So they invited the young one to rest in a nest of support in the branches of the tree of life. And they felt uplifted and calm energy, a calm alertness. And the little one said, God is good. So what they were able to do was invite a time travel back, bringing this young one back to present day. They time traveled in a bubble to her heart. And the request that they made of themselves was to really stay with the imagery of the energy moving through them, transforming that energy with presence. To also retain the imagery of that tree of life and the nest of well-being, throughout their day and to really nurture it. And life is deeply good was the deepest truth that they took home. And life is really good. And how important it is for us to take time to be with any of those scary shadows that may bubble up in a day, and to have accompaniment with that. If you have any of those kind of bubbles that you are needing some support with, reach out to me at healingyoursanctuary.com. Thanks for being on the journey with me today. Healing you.